Okay, Brian. You have been a member of Saxon for 2 years now. How do you feel about playing with one of the best live heavy metal bands in the whole world?
It's fantastic. I'm absolutely loving it. When I was offered the opportunity, I said yes immediately because I'd got to know the band and we toured with them, and I knew how the set up and how well run it was. And it just felt like a step up for me anyway from Diamond Head. Diamond Head's at a certain level, but Saxon are way above it. Whenever you see a poster, for a festival or something, Saxon will be up here and Diamond Head will be, down here.
That's
But no, I just thought I love the challenge as well of learning new material, playing with different musicians, and it stops you getting in a rut. Really, it's quite easy to just be playing the same songs every night and same solos, and so a whole new challenge, a whole new band, a whole new set was really, I think, really good for me as a player and mentally, especially I'm 65 now, so at this stage in my life, I didn't expect to be offered an opportunity to move up the ladder, if you like. But
all
yeah, it's
right.
fantastic. It's fantastic.
And how did they contact you to offer the Saxon job? When did you receive the proposal to be member of the band?
It was in March of 2023, and the manager phoned and said, Paul Quinn's left the band, he's retired, so we need a guitar player to take over, to do all these dates. And he reeled off a load of dates. We're going to the US, we've got dates with Judas Priest coming up, blah blah blah. And I immediately said yes, 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 of course, fantastic. And I've been thinking about it because they did offer me, like, at the end of 2022, there was a festival where Paul Quinn had COVID, and they phoned to say, would I step in and would I deck for Paul and learn the set? And I, of course, said yes, and I'm glad I did, because that must have stood me in good stead, if you like, to for when for when Paul actually left, and they asked if I'd like to do the guitar duties, and it's been great. I just started learning the set, and the first gig was in July of 2023 in Athens, and it was fantastic.
Mm-hmm. You come from the same scene as Saxon, the new wave of British heavy metal. Were you friends of the members of the band in the last years or even in the 80s?
Did I know them? Did you
Yeah,
say?
I mean,
Yes, yes.
more
We
than knowing them, you were friends or not really
um,
close friends.
we we weren't really friends, like, phone each other up, but we knew each other and we played several gigs together. We did some dates together in 2020, and we got on well. Backstage you'd be chatting, and they'd sometimes, say that Nigel would come into our dressing room and have a good chat, and Nibs, and we'd meet each other in catering. So it was all cool. Everybody was comfortable, and I think that, maybe I believe Paul had been considering retiring for a while, and so Biff must have started to think, okay, well, if Paul does go, who can we get to take over? And like you say, I think they wanted an English guy. They wanted somebody roughly the same age, and a connection with the new wave of British heavy metal. And so I seemed to fit the bill, and I was, happy to accept.
Okay. And didn't you play with Saxon in the 80s? Diamond Head and Saxon together back in the 80s? Never.
Maybe a couple of festivals. We did one in New Jersey in 2002, where it was Saxon and Diamond Head, and we actually went on after Saxon, and it was called Metal Meltdown 4. It was, but yeah, we've bumped into them a few times at airports and things. But
But
I never expected to be asked to join the band, but it sort of came out the blue a little bit. But I was very flattered to be asked and honoured to join such a legendary band.
So you did not play with them in the 80s, beginning of the
No,
80s, Diamond Head and
not
Saxon.
really.
All right,
No, we
okay,
never did
okay.
a tour or anything. You know, we were never support band. The only time we've really supported them is been in the past 5 years, where we were on the same record label and we had the same management as well. So it was a bit more. There was more connection.
All right. Okay, this year you're celebrating with Saxon the 45th anniversary of Wheels of Steel record. It was
Yeah.
released in 1980. The same year you released Lightning to the Nations with Diamond Head. Do you remember the first times you listened to the Wheels of Steel records back in the day? Do you remember it?
Yes, I remember it sounding really good, I thought. I mean, they were on Carré Records, which was a sort of French disco label. And I always thought they did really well, considering they didn't have the weight of a big label like, you know, Iron Maiden had EMI, didn't they? And Def Leppard had Phonogram, and yet Carré Records was a lot further down the ladder. But they seemed to, you know, because it was such a good record, and they were touring a lot. They built a following very quickly. They seemed to do really, really well. You know, I'd see them on Top of the Pops, playing, you know, various songs. Diamond had never had a hit record, so we never got on Top of the Pops. But you know, I remember seeing Saxon on there a few times, and I actually saw Saxon at the first Monsters of Rock. I was there in the audience, and Saxon were on second, I think, or third. It was headlined by Rainbow. I'd gone to see Rainbow and, you know, Judas Priest and the Scorpions and that, but Saxon were great on the day. I had to admit, you know, they were really on fire. And when I first heard tracks like Wheels of Steel and 747 live, and on record or at rock clubs, I very often would go to rock clubs back in the day, and it would come thundering on with that bass line, and it always sounded, wow, this sounds great. So yeah, it was impressive.
All right. Okay, this year you have played a number of shows in Europe, playing the whole Wheels of Steel record. It will be the same. You will play in Spain in September, 3 dates here in September.
Yeah.
What can you tell me about these shows, playing the whole record, and what can the fans in Spain can expect about the upcoming gigs in September?
Okay, well, we play the whole of the album. We open with things like, you know, Hellfire and Damnation, and we've been playing Madame Guillotine and 1066 off the new album. But also there's classics in that first half of the set, things like Dallas and Strong Arm of the Law, and you know, the big Saxon songs. So then it gets to the Motorcycle Man and the rest of, you know, the album, and we've been doing it tight against each other, no gaps, and because it's quite a fast album and a little bit punky for like 1980, it's got a real energy to it, and once we get going, it doesn't let up. It's really a powerful record. So I didn't know all the songs, you know, I didn't know how to play them. When I joined, I learned a live set, and I've learned maybe 40 odd songs, but I didn't know all the tracks off Wheels of Steel. So Biff asked me to, you know, we're going to do the whole album, he said last year, and so I learned the extras, another 6 songs, and it's really great. They work really well live, so it's fun to play.
I think it's a long set because you played more than 20 songs. It's almost
Yeah,
2 hours, or how long
I would
is
say about 145. Yeah,
145? All right, that's really great.
something like that. Yeah,
Okay,
it is quite a long set, and it's a big encore as well. We've been doing 3 or 4 songs in the encore.
all right, perfect. I know that you are working on a new record, maybe
Mhm.
for the next year. I don't know if you can advance me anything about if you have many songs written for the next record, or what can you tell me about the music?
all I know is Biff's asking for material now. I've been working on material at home and with a friend, and whenever there's gaps in the tour like there is now, I try and get some ideas together, and everything has to be sent over to Biff, and he listens through, and he spends time, listening and deciding, oh, I think I could do something with that. But sometimes he'll say, like, it needs a better verse, or it needs a different middle eight, or a better intro. And then so you go away and you rewrite, and then you try again and maybe do a new demo. Till he's got what he needs, really, enough material for an album. And so that's at the stage we're at now. Then it will eventually get to a point where we get together once we've decided what we're going to record, and then we will again go over them, tweak the arrangements and solos and things like that. And then it'll be decided, okay, now we're going to record the drums and bass and move forward to that. But yeah, I think the album definitely won't come out till next year, but it may even be late next year. I'm not sure, really. I've only been in the band 2 years, so I'm still learning how it all works as we go along.
Do you know if Paul Quinn is still helping with the songwriting?
I think what it is the door's always open, according to Biff. He always says, if Paul sends me a song and it's great, we'll use it. He says, he might write Smoke on the Water next week. And so that's the way it is. Yeah, Paul is absolutely, free to contribute. Everybody is in the band. And if you come up with something great, then it'll go on the record.
Okay. An interview with you, for me, is not possible not to speak about Diamond Head, of course.
Okay.
So I know that this year you're releasing a live album, Live and Electric, in July, I reckon. Do you have any plans for Diamond Head? Any plans about a studio album or live shows? So what can you tell me? Or is it totally on hold?
At the moment, the live album is the main thing. That, like you say, that comes out July 11th on Silver Lining. And after that, who knows? We haven't got any plans to record a new album. And there are no dates in the book. I just thought, once I joined Saxon, and I joined in March 2023, I just thought it's going to be difficult to book Diamond Head gigs because Saxon's so busy that we could easily land right on top of a Diamond Head gig. Because, as you know, you book 6 months in advance, 9 months in advance. And I didn't want to be in a position where I say, well, I've got to do the Saxon gig, so we'll have to cancel the Diamond Head gig and let people down, and etc., etc. So I said, let's just take a break. And the management advised us the same: take a break. Let's see how the land lies, in a year or 2 years, and then we'll just see. I'm happy where I am. I'm really enjoying being in Saxon. We've done a lot of gigs already. There's a lot more gigs coming up, and we're working on the next record. So I've got a lot on my plate, and I've almost got everything I need. I need to fulfill my needs. So I don't necessarily, I'm not craving to do Diamond Head again. I feel like I've been doing Diamond Head since I was 16, and it's been a long road, but I'm happy where I am at the moment. I'm enjoying the challenge and the change, and and playing with different people's fun as well.
Do you have any kind of contact with Sean Harris?
No, not really. He does his thing and I do my thing. It's just the way it is. It's just gone that way. We all live nearby. All the 4 original members all live within about 1.5 miles of each other, but we rarely see each other. Myself, Colin and Duncan sometimes go for a curry. And we've been doing that for maybe 10 years, but I haven't seen Sean for a while now. a number of years. As I say, we kind of move in different circles, and we just lost touch with each other.
Mm-hmm. And have you received any substantial financial offer to reunite Diamond Head with Sean Harris anytime?
No, not really. You get the odd offer, but there's no big offer. No.
Maybe any festival or something like that?
No, I mean, maybe a couple of people would like that to happen, but it's not a big deal. I don't think it would, change the world. I mean, Lars has got closest, hasn't he, by getting us all to reassemble and play the NEC in Birmingham with Metallica in 1992. So he's come closest. But having spoken to Colin, the bass player, he doesn't really want to do Diamond Head again. He when he left the band, he sold all his gear, and he's never played the bass since, other than when we did that NEC show. And we once had a rehearsal just for fun in Stourbridge, but that was about 2000, so even that's been 25 years ago. So I can't see the original lineup playing together again.
Okay. We all know the big connection with Metallica. We have seen on YouTube when you played last year in Norway, Tons of Rock Festival, in front of a huge amount of people. Metallica are Diamond Head fans, and they are also Saxon fans. What did they tell you about your new position as a Saxon guitar player? I don't know if you have talked about with Lars or James about this.
I didn't talk about it with James, but I think I had a little conversation about it with Lars, and he just thought it was great. And I remember him saying, "How are they treating you?" And I just said, "Yeah, it's great. I'm loving it. I'm really enjoying it." But yeah, I think he was very pleased for me, and that we're out gigging, and it's quite an active band. Already I've done, I think, 112 shows with Saxon, and so it is busier than where Diamond Head was at. But it's also up the ladder more. We were playing bigger festivals, we were on at Better Times, or even headlining festivals, and so it is further up the ladder, and I get looked after more. We've got crew, and we're normally in a tour bus, or nice hotels and things like that. So it's definitely made a difference to my career.
Okay. Lars Ulrich spent, I reckon, spent a week at your home in '81, I think, when he was a kid. What do you remember of Lars when he was a kid?
He was 17, and he had this fantastic weird accent where it was, Danish, American, and he was just a fan. He wasn't a drummer at that point, or he never mentioned it. He never said, "I'm in a band." He never said, "I play the drums." He was just a super fan. He knew a lot about the new wave of British heavy metal bands, and he was absorbing it all, I think, as I think he'd made this kind of pilgrimage over to the UK to see Diamond Head, and we went to see the Heavy Metal Holocaust show at Port Vale in '81. So Lars said he knew Lemmy, and he said, "I can get on the guest list for Motorhead. So shall we go?" And we went, and sure enough, I waited outside the gate for a minute while he got in, talked his way in, probably hooked up with Motorhead, and said, "Can I have passes for me and Brian?" And we got in free, and we watched all the bands, and fortunately I got to see Blizzard of Oz with Randy Rhoads, and that's the only time I ever saw Randy Rhoads, and he was fantastic. I know, and I remember the whole crowd, just a sea of hands, because you know how good a frontman Ozzy is, and that was brilliant. And then Motorhead came on, and it was a fantastic day. And Lars and I just went on the train, blagged our way in, and came back on the train, and that was great. So Lars stayed with me for about a week, and then he stayed with Sean for almost a month, I think. And he'd come to some Daimler gigs where he'd jump in a car with us and rehearsals, and then went back to LA and formed Metallica, as you do.
We all know Diamond Head deserved a lot of more because it was an amazing band. It was one of the biggest bands. If we had a time machine and we would go back to 1980, what would have changed? What could have done differently nowadays?
Okay. Well, I mean, it would have been difficult to change things, but ideally we'd have had professional management, because we had amateur management really who were, you know, they meant well, but they didn't have any experience, and they didn't really know the right people in the industry to get the band where it needed to be. So we kind of floundered for a little bit, and then eventually we got dropped by the label. We only made 2 albums for MCA, so we were only on a major label for 2 albums, and then we were dropped, and things started to fall apart in 1985. But you know, in hindsight, it's very difficult, as you can imagine, to do what a Metallica did, what Iron Maiden did, what AC/DC did. Everybody wants to do that, but it's incredibly difficult. And we tried and couldn't do it. So, you know, like 10,000 other bands. So it's rare. I try not to, you know, blame myself or beat myself up about it, but it's incredibly rare. It's like winning the lottery or playing for, you know, Manchester City or something. You've got to be sort of exceptional.
Okay, you have talked about AC/DC. I have learned recently that you played the last 2 gigs of Bon Scott. You played with them. What do you remember of that experience?
Fantastic, because we were huge AC/DC fans, and we hadn't even done that many gigs. I think those 2 gigs with AC/DC were about our 34th, 35th shows that we'd ever done. So we'd been playing locally, we'd played in Birmingham and probably a few dates around the country. And then we got offered these 2 gigs with AC/DC in Southampton and Newcastle. January 1980, and they were fantastic. Obviously, we went down really, really well, which was almost a light bulb moment for us, because we thought, wow, if we can go down well in front of an AC/DC crowd who don't know any of our material and never seen the band before, we thought we must have something going on, you know, we could win this crowd over. So, and then we would just go and, you know, watch AC/DC and think it was fantastic. But yeah, like little did we know that those would the last 2 gigs Bon Scott would ever do. So a week or so later, on I think February 10th, he died in a car, didn't he? Choking, you know, on his own vomit. And that was a terrible shock, because we just got to know him and things like that. We'd hung out backstage, and all of a sudden the great man is dead. So really strange, but at least we did those 2, you know, shows, and they've forever stuck in my mind as 2 of the best gigs we ever did.
Okay, just 3 questions to finish the interview. I would speak with you for the whole day, but I have no time. I know you were into music when you were a kid, and I think you saw Judas Priest back in 75 when they were really just starting. And I reckon you saw Black Sabbath with Sabbath tour back in Birmingham in 75 also. What do you remember of
yeah, that was 74,
74.
Sabbath. Yeah, it was great. I mean, I can remember that cross with like, looked like cobwebs trailing off it, white, you know, things trailing off it. I mean, I can't really remember the set because it was so long ago, and I'm only 14, but it was a packed Birmingham Odeon. Black Sabbath were great. I saw them later. I saw them on the tour when Van Halen was supporting in 78. They did Never Say Die. Yeah, so I saw them again on that tour, and it was Van Halen's first tour. But yeah, I've been a fan really since at least 72, probably. My brother went to see them in 71.
Wow.
He was 6 years older than me, so he saw them at Birmingham Town Hall on the Master of Puppet, no, Master of Reality. Sort of did that on the Master of Reality tour when they would open with War Pigs, and he said it was, incredible. And but yeah, I've been a Black Sabbath fan since I first listened to my brother's records, really, because he had a good taste in music, and he had a lot of good rock albums with Zeppelin and Thin Lizzy and all the good stuff. And so that probably fed into me and started to evolve my taste in rock. Yeah.
But then you didn't know that Tony Iommi would collaborate in one of your records 20 years later.
That's right.
And Dave Mustaine from Megadeth also in Death and Progress
Yes.
record in the 90s. Do you have any kind of contact with them, with Dave Mustaine and Tony Iommi?
No, not really. I'm not one to hassle. I'm not one to phone them up every 5 minutes. So I mean, we just let it go, really. We supported Megadeth in 2005, so that was fantastic. And we've spoke a few times. We've been over to Nashville and we've been to his offices, and we had a conversation about they were looking to manage Diamond Head at one point, but it didn't happen in the end. And with Tony Iommi, we did that. We wrote that song together, Star-Crossed, which was on Death and Progress, as you say. And then he came to the studio and he recorded a solo for us and things like that. It was all around 1992. But he was great. I mean, he was very helpful. Tony is a lovely guy. And I met up with him when he did the Birmingham thing about Home of Metal in, I think, 2011. And so he came to the opening night along with, KK Downing was there, and Noddy Holder and the like. And so we spoke then. We had a few, chats at that. It was good fun. But I've kind of lost touch. But I'm sure if somebody, put us together, we'd be cool. We'd reminisce. We'd be okay.
Okay. And the last one, talking about the guitar, some of your influences, I reckon that they were Jimmy Page from Led Zeppelin, Richie Blackmore, Deep Purple Rainbow, and even Michael Schenker when he was in UFO. Have you met them in all those years?
I've been lucky to meet all three of those guys, my heroes. I only met Page briefly because he was backstage at Wembley Stadium when Metallica played there. And he was managed by Peter Mensch, Metallica's manager.
Yeah.
So he'd gone, I believe, to meet Big Mick, who was doing Metallica's sound, and Big Mick ended up doing Led Zeppelin's sound at the O2. So I think he'd gone to have a listen to the sound and to talk to Big Mick. But I briefly had a chance to shake his hand and have a photo and tell him, how important Zeppelin has been to me. Only briefly. But I've also met Schenker a couple of times. And again, he's total legend. I love his playing. I've never met Richie Blackmore, though. Not many people have, as far as I can work out. But yeah, Blackmore's a massive influence as well. And yeah. So I've been lucky to meet those three guys that you just mentioned.